On this video, I would like to work in Matthew chapter 7. I would like to read phrase by phrase the Greek text with English translation and a brief running commentary. We're in the middle of the Sermon on the Mount, that great message that Jesus left and is recorded by Matthew. It reads, Me clinite, hena me clithete. Do not judge, lest you be judged. Don't judge people wrongly and criticize, I think Jesus is saying, lest you be judged. Verse 2, In hogar climati clinite clithesiste. For in which judgment you judge, you shall be judged. The way you judge others, you'll be judged by the Lord, I think Jesus is saying, recorded by Matthew. And then, Kain ho metro metrete, metre thesite humin. And by which measure you measure, it shall be measured to you. In other words, the way that you measure, using the image of possibly a bushel basket, the way you're measuring, you're going to have it measured back to you. Simply a repeat with a different imagery of the whole idea of wrongly judging other people. Verse 3, Ti deblepes ta karfas, ta ento thaumo tu adelphusu. So why do you see? This is sort of humorous in some ways. Why do you see the splinter which is in the eye of your brother? Tain de into so ophthalmo dakan u kata naes. That is, and why then do you see the splinter in your brother's eye, but the 2x4, the dakan, the plank, which is in your eye, you do not perceive? And what he's really saying is how easy it is to take the splinter out of your brother's eye, but not really seeing there's like a 2x4 in your eye. I think that's the thought that Jesus is saying, is getting at. And so he goes on, and how do you say? E pos eres to adelphosu. How do you say to your brother? Aphes ek balo ta karfas ek tu thalmusu, kai edu he dakas into ophthalmosu. That is, how do you say, or why do you say, how do you say to your brother, permit me, I will cast out the splinter out of your eye, and behold the 2x4, or the beam in your brother's eye. In other words, how can you say that when you're not realizing there is a 2x4, if we could put it that way, plank in your eye? But you don't see that. You're looking at the splinter in your brother's eye. Hypocrita, verse 5, hypocrite. Ek bale protas ek tu ophthalmusu tan dakan. Hypocrite, play actor, I think he's saying. Cast first out of your eye the beam, or the 2x4. Take it out first. Kaitate diablepse ek balen ta karfas ek tu ophthalmu tu adelphusu. That is, and then you shall be able to see clearly how to cast the splinter out of the eye of your brother. I mean, it's sort of a humorous thing here, but I think Jesus is being serious about it, but the point is, how are you able to say to your brother, I'll cast a splinter out of your eye, a little piece of splinter, but then, and then you do not see how the beam which is in your own eye, you're not seeing it, the 2x4. So he's trying to simply encourage a wrong judgmental attitude when it comes to looking at others and not seeing ourselves and what's going on. And often that is pretty easy. It's easy to judge others and not seeing what we need to judge in ourselves. Jesus is saying, judge in yourself first, and then you can see clearly to judge others. So verse 6, he continues, Me do teta hagian tois kusin, me de bale te tus margaritas humon, imprastenton koiron. That is, do not give that which is holy to the dogs, and do not cast your pearls before swine. Why? Me pater katepate susin autus in tois pasin auton kai strafentes klexosin humas. In other words, do not give that which is holy to the dogs. The dogs were often viewed as sort of mongrel dogs, not like little poodle dogs that are lap dogs, but wild mongrel dogs that roam the streets. And I think here he's talking about a different idea. Do not give that which is precious that I'm teaching and sharing to the dogs, to those that roam the street, because they won't really appreciate what you're giving to them. So don't take holy things and give it to the dogs. Such an important principle. Don't take the precious truths of Christ and just let it be, can I say, treated in a wrong way by those that have no use for it whatsoever. And don't cast your pearls before swine. In other words, you don't take your margaritas, your pearls, before swine and throw it, lest me pate katapate susin autus, lest they trample them in tois pasen auton kai strafentes rexusin humas, lest they shall trample them with their feet and turning lacerate you. So I think all Jesus is saying here is, don't take precious truth and just throw it out there to be trampled underfoot. You don't do that. And I'm wondering if that's what he's not saying, addressing his disciples. And there would be those that would take the great truths he's teaching and just scorn it and reject it. No, these are precious truths, I think he's saying. And that would be true of us today, taking God's great, glorious truth and just throwing it out there to be trampled. We need to be careful, I think he's saying at that point. And then, one other thing right before I stop, verse 7, he talks about praying by asking, by seeking, and by knocking. Aitete kai dathesetai humin. Keep on asking, and it shall be given to you. Setete kai huresete, that is, keep on seeking, and you shall find. Gruete kai anoigesetai humin. Keep on knocking, and it shall be opened to you. Pasgar ha auton lambane, kai ha zeton huriske, kai to cruanti anoigesetai. For everyone who keeps asking is going to receive, and the one who seeks is finding, and to the one who knocks it shall be open. I think he's simply teaching persistency in prayer. And then he goes on, Etis estin ex humon anthropos, han aitese hahuias autu artan me lethan epidose auto. For what man out of you is there who his son will ask for bread? He will not give to him a stone, will he? And I think if a son asks father for bread, he's not going to give him a stone, the kind that would be found, let's say, by the Sea of Galilee. He's not going to do that. E kai exun aitese me often epidose auto, or if he will ask for a fish, he will not give to him a snake. So if he's asking for a fish, an ixun, he will not give to him a hafet, a snake or a serpent. Now if you, e un humes paneroi antes oidate damata agatha didanai tois technois humon, poso malan ha pater humon, ha in tois uranois dose agatha tois aitusen auton. And that is, if you being evil know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more? Here's a light, heavy kind of argument that goes through a lot of the New Testament. You're weighing something light against something heavy. So if you, it's called Kal by Omer, the Omer, Kal meaning light, Omer heavy. So if you being evil know how to give good gifts to your children, then how much more? Light, heavy. So your Father who is in heaven give good gifts to those that ask him. He's going to reward you with a good gift, not with a stone. And I think he's saying, keep on praying. He wants to give that which is good to his people, to those who are his disciples. But then there's a summary of how we're to treat one another in verse 12. Panta un haso anthelete hena poiosin humen hoi anthropoi, hutos kai humes poietai altus, hutas gar estin hanamas kai hoi propheta. That is, all things whatsoever you would that men do to you, thus also you do to them. For this is the law and the prophets. If you want to summarize what the whole Old Testament is about, what the law, the Torah, and the Nevi'im, the prophets are about, it's very simple. That you don't do anything to anyone else you wouldn't want done to you, except Jesus puts it in a positive spin here. All things whatsoever you would, in order that men do to you, thus also you do to them. For this is the law and the prophets. Hillel talked about don't do to someone else when you want them not to do to you. And Jesus saying the same thing, but with a positive spin. All things whatsoever you would that men do to you, then do to them. Treat others the way you would want to be treated. The golden rule, as it's been called. For if you want to summarize the law and the prophets, that's it. One of the things that Matthew keeps focusing upon is how were to treat one another. I was hungry, you fed me. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was sick, and you visited me, and so forth. How we need to apply that, because at the judgment, many will say, Lord, didn't I do all this in your name? He said, I don't know you, because I was sick and you didn't visit me. I was thirsty, you didn't give me drink. I was hungry and you didn't feed me, and so forth. One of the things that I'm becoming increasingly, I'm wanting to do, Lord, help me to be faithful, to try to do that, because I don't want to face you at the judgment and you say, I don't know you. To me, it becomes very scary in a lot of ways and challenging. So let us do what Jesus said. And I think the golden rule should be applied by all followers of Christ. Often, some of the worst struggles are found among Christians, sad to say, or among churches. It's like the Hatfields and the McCoys. They're just constantly at it, and they won't forgive or accept the other. And it's very powerful here. We should not treat someone any differently than the way we would want to be treated. As a matter of fact, we should do to others as we want others to do to us. That's the golden rule. And Jesus Christ focuses on that here. And it's the whole summary of the Torah and the Nevi'im, the law and the prophets. May we every day seek to try to do that. I remember on my grandmother's side, her dad was a minister and her brothers were ministers. And one of their favorite texts, or one of their favorite quotes, came from John Wesley. I may not have it all by memory, but let us do all the good we can, in every way we can, to all the people we can, as long as we ever can. And I think I'm leaving out some of it, but that's the thought that I think Jesus is emphasizing here, and John Wesley captured that idea.